Hey everybody, it's Monday, and this is SideKick Power Hour with me, your host, Joshua R. Pangborn. If this is your first time here, then welcome. But probably most of you have been here before, and you know who I am, and you know what we do here at SideKick Power Hour. We like to focus on highlighting queer and fat artists who do things with their art to promote things for the queer audiences or the fat positive audiences, or somewhere in between, and doing all sorts of wonderful things with their work. We also talk about the work we do at Sidekick Productions. And one of the things we do at Sidekick Productions is make amazing shows like the one that just finished yesterday. That's right. If you are a follower of Demon Doctor, yesterday was the season finale of season 2, and it's been a long time coming. I know. We started in 2023, and somehow it took us until 2025 to put out 12 episodes. That happens sometimes. Post production is never. Post production goes less smoothly than you think it will, and that results sometimes in delays, sometimes a year-long delay between episodes. But we did it. We got them all out, and you got to see season 2 of Demon Doctor. If you haven't seen it all yet, you can always go to demondoctor.com and you can watch it now. You'll get to watch both season 1 and season 2. If you like The X-Files and you like Buffy, then this is my 90s homage series that celebrates the 90s television genre series like Buffy and Angel and Charmed and The X-Files. So, and it couldn't be a better time to be releasing the season finale of Demon Doctor, because today in the news, they revealed that apparently they're thinking of doing a Buffy reboot on Hulu with Sarah Michelle Gellar as Buffy again. So uh, that was a fun little correlation between Demon Doctor and Buffy and everything in the span of 2 days. If you remember, we also have some very exciting things happening in 18 days, everybody. 18 days. We are going to be rolling on our next movie, The Contract. I can't believe that we're going to be doing that. So we felt like we had so much time, and then all of a sudden, boom! It's February, and time to get cracking. But if you want to help us make The Contract, you can go to thecontractfilm.com. It is a wonderful queer gothic erotic horror film that we're going to be making, and you can be part of it too. If you go to thecontractfilm.com, you'll even be able to become a producer on the movie if you want to. That's one of the many perks we have for you. So don't be shy and do that. We also have a wonderful guest tonight, and that's the real reason we are here. You may have heard their music in A Taste of Youth if you've been able to see that movie yet. If not, stay tuned. You'll see more of that in the coming months. But we one of the songs from the soundtrack for A Taste of Youth is by tonight's guest, and it was a song called. It is a song, not was it. It still is called this. It is a song called "Too Old to Dance," and I loved the song as soon as I heard it, and I knew we had to use it. And I was very happy that Nakia agreed with me. So, because of that, we were able to put it into one of the sequences in the movie. And because of that, I have tonight's guest. So, everybody, please welcome to the stage Adair Murray.
Hello. Hi.
Hello, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. It's a little after midnight here in Glasgow. So I've got a little drink to keep me going.
That is the best. It's good to stay awake with some drinks and
Yeah,
after
it's
midnight.
non-alcoholic, I should say that. As a school night, it's non-alcoholic.
Very responsible of you. Very responsible.
Thanks for
um,
having me. Congratulations on the season finale. I
Thank
haven't
you.
haven't watched any yet, but I will definitely check it out because it sounds right up my street, if I'm being
if,
totally
if
honest.
you if you like 90s genre fiction, then this is a show for you. So uh,
Awesome.
it has a little bit of that. It has a little bit of Buffy, a little bit of X-Files, and a little bit of practical effects. It's all the things I loved about those shows in the 90s, and
Yeah.
but much queerer and body positive. So that's
Yeah.
that's that's what we do here. So
Well, the 90s are back.
they
So
are.
so I
Everything
keep being
is back
told.
from the 90s.
We've moved past the 80s now. The 80s are no longer like the throwback thing. It's now the 90s, which
Yep.
terrifies me because you know,
That's my childhood. So it's like, this is not working out. This is.
exactly
But apparently the '90s were 30 years ago. So ugh,
impossible.
we do not want to think about that, but it's the truth. So you are in Glasgow. Are you from Glasgow originally, or?
I'm from a little tiny village about 20 minutes outside of Glasgow, called Bonnybridge. But yeah, it's about 20 miles out of Glasgow. But I've lived in Glasgow for many years now.
I'm also from a tiny town in New York State. My town had 500 people in it, so
Oh wow,
it was
mine
very.
wasn't that much bigger, but
So we're like kindred spirits then.
we both moved to the big city,
We did the big city
sold our souls, and moved to the big city.
and became artists for
Exactly.
starving artists and everything. So
Yeah.
so you are a musician then. So
Yes.
I guess tell us a little bit about your backstory. Where how did you get involved? How did you get started as a musician?
I started in, as many gay kids do, I started in theatre. I wasn't necessarily a theatre kid, but I was always creative. And my mum and dad kind of, I think, didn't really know what to do with me. But they were kind of like, what do we do with this kid? Like, he doesn't like football. He's not interested in this. Not into... So they sent me eventually, after me bugging them for so long, they sent me to youth theatre, just to get me out of the house, I think, twice a week. But from there, I'm going to show my age again here, but I don't know if you remember, like back in the day when you would buy like a CD single. Sometimes they would have like instrumentals of
Oh yeah.
the songs on them. So I used to take the instrumentals and write my own lyrics over them,
Oh,
and
that's
then
amazing.
try and rework the melodies and stuff. And from there, I just started to then write my own stuff as like poems and things. And then when I was 16, I left home and moved to London. I started auditioning on the boy band circuit. I was in a couple of really crap boy bands. And yeah, it was like a lot of years of kind of auditioning for things.
Yeah.
Through those auditions, I met some producers who kind of said to me, I think I'd been cut from one of the auditions, and they said, "Oh, do you write your own stuff?" And I said, "Well, I do actually." And they said, "Do you want to come and work in our studio and learn the sort of like learn the trade of songwriting and producing, basically?" So it was really amazing. It was really like a moment that changed my life forever, because I learned so much about, as you'll know from like the film industry, a lot of what we do is a collaborative process.
Hmm.
And I think where a lot of people struggle is when they can't collaborate. So I learned in the studio that how to work with other writers, how to work with producers, what the engineer does, what the producer does. It was like an education in itself. In return for, they would let me work with people in there on my own stuff, and so I was building up demos and things like that. I just kind of really got into it really naturally from the performing arts in general. But I fell in love with just telling stories through songs as kind
Hmm.
of the main thing, and I still love doing it now. So
It's a very organic journey that you had. It sounds like.
yeah, definitely. I mean, it's one
I
of
mean,
those things.
not to say that it wasn't full of hardships and everything, but it sounds like a very nice natural progression in your journey that happened. So
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where I always say there are no accidents, and I think meeting Roger and Hank when I was so young, I was really struggling at the time. I was in London, I was broke, I was, all that kind of stuff. I was getting cut from every audition I went for, and I think that's because I wasn't ever meant to be in the boy band sphere.
yeah,
I always wanted to sort of bring my own thing to the table. And I was quite headstrong about that. The boy bands that I was in briefly, I struggled because it was being molded into to fit a certain prototype and stuff,
Sure.
and I'm quite rebellious when it comes to being told. Yeah, so it was kind of I was being pulled in. I wanted to be successful, but I wanted to be successful on my terms. Um, and I ran into troubles further down the line, or being a solo artist with wanting to be openly gay in a time that just wasn't the done thing. So I had managers who would sign me who would say, "But you have to stay in the closet if you want to be successful." Particularly, even because at that time my look um, was very clean cut. I
Mm,
had a sort of clean cut boy bandy look. So they were like, well, if you don't appeal to young teenage girls, then no one's going to buy your music.
yeah.
And they had a point, I guess. But again, you know,
I mean, I get that for sure. It's the same thing I struggled with and I faced. I mean, a lot of people have told, they still tell me today that uh, you need to make your stuff less queer and more open to other people, so that way you'll get another audience in. But I'm just like, that's not what everyone else. Other people can do that. This is what I'm. This is who I am. So
absolutely, yeah, exactly. And if you lose your what's authentic about you, then you lose your way, and then what's the point of doing it in the first place? So
yeah, 100% agree with you.
yeah,
It's not easy to um keep your vision, but it's also I think vital if you're an artist, or at least one who wants to do it seriously. Like, sure, if you just want to do it for something for fun, you can have a YouTube channel and put up videos and people will watch, or do TikToks and things and people will watch. But
yeah,
um, you also want to make sure that you're doing it because you believe in the vision that you have for yourself as an artist. So
absolutely, yeah. I mean, back then, now there isn't. Now the industry is totally different, but back then there was so much money, and everything was dependent on who owned the money.
yeah,
So if now everyone's independent, and I'm independent now, which is great. But back then it was kind of like you had to be mindful of the men in suits who had all the money, and so you had to kind of do what they wanted you to do if you wanted the level of success, and um, they were gatekeepers essentially.
yeah. I think the music industry was able to evolve into independent artists a lot faster than film and
Mm,
television has, because something about it well, I mean, the invention of things like TikTok and YouTube, I think, really kicked off that a lot faster for musicians than it did for film and all. Because then this is I have no hard data on this. This is just my own gut feeling.
yeah, I mean, I do agree with you in terms of it was a really great platform for people to put videos of themselves up singing or playing their acoustic, things of their own songs. And it was like, I think YouTube and MySpace were like, if you remember
Yeah,
MySpace,
of course,
were
yeah.
the the
Good
two
old
that,
Tom.
yeah, exactly. Tom from MySpace, everyone's perfect man. Um, but I think they were really good platforms for doing that. But at the same time, in terms of short film, as a viewer of it, certainly in terms of queer art,
Mhm.
I would say YouTube is probably still the number one place I'll go to search for short film. Um, I discovered the years ago now it's the first season of the show East Siders.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
So I discovered that when it was still a short form YouTube um, drama series before it then got picked up, I think, by Netflix later and distributed by them. But I
Yeah.
think I think YouTube was great for that as well. It did take a while. You're right. It took a while longer for that to pick up. But I think once filmmakers thought, well, why don't we put it out there? And it's almost like a calling card, wasn't it,
Yeah.
of being able to put it out there and get noticed, which was great.
I think so. I also for me growing up, I gravitated always towards British movies and British shows because they always seem to be a bit more progressive with queer storylines than U.S. shows did.
Mm.
So I just I had so many DVDs of like British productions of
Oh wow,
things.
what were you watching?
I can't remember a lot of them, but I know that I watched a million times Beautiful Thing,
Oh
uh, and I watched Get Real as well.
yeah,
These are some like just very lovely British gay films
yeah,
that were a bunch of gay teenagers who were coming out, and I mean, it was always stories of coming out and always stories of trauma and everything. So it's like
yeah,
the same stories and all that. And then, but of course, I mean, then Queer as Folk was originated over there. So
worse, yeah,
and then Queer as Folk for me was pivotal in the U.S. Queer as Folk was pivotal for my voice as an artist developing because it came out my senior year of high school in the U.S. and
so you were right in
I was
that
right in
you
that
were living it while it was being played on TV.
pretty
Yeah,
much, yeah. So I was like, oh, this is amazing. I'm gonna go to New York City for college, and it's gonna be like this, and it's
yeah,
not like that at all. But I mean, I guess it could have
exactly.
been if I tried to look for those kind of places, but I didn't. I was a good boy.
Yeah.
So,
No, I mean, yeah, I mean, Beautiful Thing was a real. I have such Jonathan Harvey, who wrote Beautiful Thing, is such a fantastic writer. I actually ended up living like 3 doors down from him when I briefly lived in Liverpool.
oh wow,
Yeah, and I would see him walking his dogs around the area and stuff. Um, and he's just such a talented writer. And I think what was so beautiful about that film was that it was these two boys falling in love against the backdrop of this brutalist like estate in South London, the
yeah,
Thamesmead estate, and the greyness of it, but these characters that you just fell in love with because you just felt, especially as a British person watching it, you sort of felt like, oh, I know that person, or I
yeah,
know a version of that person. And then, of course, just to the soundtrack of Mama Cass and
yeah.
the Mamas and Papas, it's just a perfect film. I actually just lent or loaned out to my friend's just had an operation and he's recovering. He's never seen it. So I was like made him a little care package of DVDs, and that was one of the DVDs I
Well,
put
look at
in it.
that. That's fabulous. Then
Yeah, and he was like, I don't even have a DVD player. Why are you giving me this? I'm like,
it's true. I don't. I think I'd have to watch it on the PlayStation if I had a DVD. Yeah.
that was exactly what he said he was going to watch on his PlayStation. So, but yeah, it's such and Queer as Folk. The British one came out when I was um, a teenager as well. So
Yeah.
I was sort of Nathan at the time, the young one. Now
Yeah.
I'm older than both Vince and Stuart. So
Oh, I'm older than all of those characters too now. So,
I'm more of a sort of Hazel age these days. The mum.
um, so so you how much does being queer come into the songs you write and everything? How much of that? How does that affect the songs you write? I guess.
Affects it massively, actually. The one of the things I love to do, if obviously you've heard the music, a lot of it is very autobiographical.
Hmm.
Um, Tool to Dance, for example, which is the one that you used in Taste of Youth. Thank you very much for that again.
My pleasure.
Um, that was kind of that tapped into. I'd kind of come out of a relationship, and it was basically that feeling of where do I go now to meet someone, because it was like I feel like I'm too old to go back to the club. You know, I feel I don't want to go back onto the dance floor and meet another stranger and
Yeah.
have to get to know all their flaws and all their little, little weird things about them again. Like I don't want to have to start again with someone else was kind of the general message. And I think that is a uniquely, I mean, I'm saying that it feels like more of a unique queer experience because it's the thing that we all gravitate towards, isn't it? When you break up with someone and it's like, oh, your friends are all, let's go back out to the club, and you're like, really, again, like and I live in Glasgow's quite a small city, so it's kind of a lot of the same people.
Yeah.
So you're kind of like, is there going to be anyone new out there? I
You
don't
again,
know.
okay.
And then just a lot of my songs are about relationships. No Shame. This my song No Shame is about my struggle with coming out in a small village. Um, As Against the World is about a friendship slash um, secret relationship I had in high school with a boy who um, would sort of bully me, but then was also secretly in love with me, I think. So yeah, it was a weird. I mean, I'm sure everyone's kind of had that.
Been
Um,
there. So,
yeah, exactly. These are such unique queer
young.
experiences, I think. Yeah, and that thing of like wanting to be liked by him, and wanting to have a close male relationship, even though we would go for lunch and he would like, you can't tell anyone you're coming for lunch with me. And then we'd get to lunch and he'd be like, I want you to punch me as hard as you can in the stomach. And I'd be like, I don't want to punch you in the stomach, but secretly did because I wanted the contact. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's like all these like weird things that were going
totally.
on. So yeah, so it's a massive part because I feel like our duties as storytellers are to tell the stories that maybe can reach other people that need to hear them. Basically,
I love that. Yeah,
that's
I talk about that because people have told me that people have told me that every queer story should be for everybody, but I don't really think that. I think queer stories are for queer people, and yes,
yeah,
queer people can watch them, but there's something we're not the same as heterosexual people. There's something different about our experiences, and there's something different about the way we navigate the world. I mean,
yeah,
it's just a very different relationship with friends and family, and that a heterosexual person's never going to understand.
yeah,
And I think that queer people who make art who don't allow that to come through, uh, I think that they're taking away an opportunity for a queer audience to find something to connect with.
yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, it's it's a universal thing, I think, as well. You know, in 2025, if you're kidding yourself on that you don't have someone in your life, whether that's a friend or a family member, that's a queer person, and then you're lying to yourself basically, because there definitely is. And I think you owe it to yourself to try to understand their life a little bit better,
Hmm.
um, because actually when you do that you'd realize that that understanding for yourself would help to sort of break down barriers, you know, to the outside world, and realize that we're not, I mean, we're being so demonized at the moment, just in across throughout the world, that we need those people to be understanding us and to be fighting our corner more than ever at the moment. So I think it's important that if we can do something with our creativeness to try and reach people and break down those barriers, then we definitely should be.
I think one of the most powerful things in the world that we're living in right now that a queer artist can do is make explicitly queer art and
Yeah.
making sure that everyone knows it's queer and not hiding it. Like there was, I understand why, and I understand the history of doing a lot of subtext and a lot of suggestive queerness in
Yeah.
stories and songs and all that, but the time for that is over, and I think
Hmm.
we need to be unafraid of being who we are and telling those stories, because that's the strongest political action many of us can take, because we're not in politics, most of us, we're just
Yeah.
we're artists, so
We're in our own politics. Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
So
I mean, yeah, and I think now is the time to do it. Really, I think in terms of music, there's so many amazing, great, unapologetically queer artists out there at the moment. Um, Troye Sivan obviously is massive at the moment, and he's um, his stage show is incredibly sexual, but in the most gorgeous way, for a guy of his age, because I feel like he just commands that stage with such prowess and power, and you just feel like he knows exactly what he's doing. And there's people like Geordie, who I love as well. Um, Bright Light does his thing in a more kind of colourful, bright camp way, which is just fantastic as well.
And as a side note, Bright Light also had songs in A Taste of Youth, everybody. So
Oh wow, Rod! Oh, I just love Rod. He's just so great.
love
Yeah.
him so much. We used uh Boys Etc. I think was the
Oh, I
song.
love that song. Yeah, such a good
It's
song.
such a good song. And then for another movie of I used his song "You Want My" from his new album "You Want My Sex."
Oh, the new album is just fantastic, and I'm so glad that it did so well for him.
And he's so wonderful. He's such a lovely. For everyone who hasn't seen the movie yet, because I know it's still in the traveling phase and figuring out how to see it and all. There are so many amazing queer artists on the soundtrack, and I can't wait for you to hear all of them because there are some just brilliant people out there, and we have one of them here tonight. So and I love all your music. I mean, I haven't obviously I haven't heard all of your songs, but everything I've heard I really enjoyed.
Oh,
So
good. Thank you.
but I really love Too Old to Dance. That was the one that I think sticks out the most. It probably because I was in the mindset of A Taste of Youth, and that was a perfect song to go with it. But
Yeah, I mean, I think what was great as well was that you put out the advertisement on on the page, basically on the Instagram page, and I just thought these opportunities don't really come along that often where people are actively looking for queer artists. So I thought I'm gonna send. I think I sent maybe two or three
I
songs.
think you did, yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah.
I was so like I was just so like like proud and pleased when you came back saying that you liked Told to Dance, because it was such a gateway. I hadn't released any music for 8 years.
Oh
Um,
wow, I didn't realize that.
yeah, well, yeah, I kind of, as I say, when I was previously in the industry, I got so burnt out by all the um, just the way the industry was at the time, that I was just disillusioned and just thought, oh, I can't do this anymore. Um, because there wasn't the things in place at the time to be an independent
Of
artist.
course, yeah.
And so when I did decide to do it just for myself, um, I thought I'm going to do it completely independent, and I'll be in charge, and there'll be no one telling me you can't do this and you can't do that. And Too Old to Dance was the first song that I wrote and produced with the guys I work with, Jeff and Steph, the producers. So it meant a lot that that one in particular, you felt you
Oh,
connected
I
with.
love that. I'm so happy.
Yeah.
Such synergy we have. That's wonderful.
Yeah, exactly.
That's no, that's really lovely. Uh, yeah, I think that it was really important for me and Nakia when we were putting out when we were trying to decide the soundtrack that we wanted to highlight queer musicians because Nakia obviously is a queer musician. He's
Yeah,
a musician first, and for us, I mean we want to highlight as many queer artists as possible whenever we're doing a project. So, like my next movie, the whole cast is queer. Everyone in it is a queer actor.
amazing.
And again, you don't, and that's not always going to be the case. And but in this particular instance, we are because I'm very lucky to have that situation where I have so many wonderful queer people I know that I can celebrate and highlight their talents. And
That's a community. It's all about community, and we're lucky, I guess, being in cities that we do meet, people that we can.
we are.
Yeah,
It would be so much harder if I were in that little town that I grew up in, or
yeah,
I'm sure if you grew up if you were still in that little town you grew up in, it would be
yeah.
very challenging to find the same kind of community that
Mm.
we are lucky to have in our cities. So,
But then at the same time, your your films and your series and stuff might be reaching those people in those small
and they
villages.
are, and your
Yeah,
music as well. I mean, that's the beauty of the internet and the beauty of doing
yeah,
things like this because people will discover us and connect with it and see, oh, this is something that I really find powerful. I get messages all the time, and I'm sure you do too.
yeah.
People all around the world that are they're just grateful for the work that we're putting out there, and
Yeah,
it's
it's been so interesting being that I distribute everything as independently, and I get these reports every quarter of like where my music's been streamed, and it's reaching countries that I, you know, and even like particularly places like Russia and things that when I get streams there, and I feel proud of that because I feel like that those are the places where maybe they need to hear a story about someone who had a tough time coming out in a small village and stuff. So it's interesting. I never thought my music would reach those places, so it's nice to see when it does, basically.
I mean, I completely agree. There are the top country on my YouTube algorithm is the United States because yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
But after that, some of the countries I was absolutely shocked by. But there are countries where it's difficult or sometimes illegal to be queer,
yeah.
and the fact that people are watching what we're doing and responding to it and saying how happy they are to see it is
Mhm.
it makes me happy. And again, to go back to what we were talking about, we can't do a lot of things, but one of the things we can do in this world is be as political as possible and queer as possible in the art that we're putting out. And
Exactly.
that gives somebody something to grab onto and hold on to when everything else is just so crappy sometimes. So
Yeah, exactly. And like you say, the good thing is now the accessibility that the internet has brought around has removed the sort of the element of um, like having to go up with a DVD to the
yes,
counter
yeah.
and be like, "Can I buy this, please?" I remember I've told a story before about there was a record, um, a 12-inch like LP record, basically by this British dance group called D Ream, and they had a song called "You're the Best Thing," but the front cover was two men hugging, like
Yes.
from like one was behind the other and they were hugging, and I used to just go into the record store and look at it, and I never had the guts to actually pull it out to go up to pay for it, and the song had nothing to do with being gay.
Yeah.
It just was that the imagery on the front of the artwork. um and then a few years ago, I was in a vintage record fair, and I found the record, and I very proudly took it up and went, "I want to buy this,
Oh,
please."
love that. That's amazing.
There was like a real full circle moment.
But yeah, I know I remember those days. It was so hard to you buy you find a DVD or a book or something, and it's gonna be like, hey, this person who's buying it is queer. It's like,
Yeah.
I can't do that. No.
How did you find like watching like we always joke saying that like we would watch Queer as Folk with like the volume at one and like the button ready to switch the channel in case anyone like would come and
Oh no,
did you have
absolutely.
experiences like that?
Well, the luckily we had a DVR. Do you know what DVR is?
Yeah, yeah.
I wasn't sure if it was just a US thing. So I had it on DVR, and I had my own DVR in my bedroom somehow for some
Oh,
reason. So it wasn't connected to the family's DVR and everything like that. So
perfect.
I was able to DVR, and then everyone would go to bed so early, and I would because they're all boring people. No, I love my family, but but I would stay up late and I would watch that, and that's how I watched a lot of queer things. That's how I first saw. I know that's how I first saw Beautiful Thing and Get Real,
Mhm.
and I know that's how I saw a couple other queer films. You just watch those really late, like I came out very young to my mother. I was I think 13 when I came out to her,
Oh
but
wow.
but it was very uncomfortable. And it was one of those things that was like, well, don't really tell anybody.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, and so I didn't. But it was a very awkward. It was a hard being queer in a small town. It's never easy. So
Yeah.
so yeah. So and then I didn't really tell my father. I know my father knew because my mother told him, but that doesn't mean I wanted to have anybody walking me watching Queer as Folk, especially after I saw that first episode and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
this is quite explicit. So um,
Yeah.
I'd never seen anything like that before as a kid. I like the stuff they showed in that show, you get an education about being queer in that show.
Exactly. It was really groundbreaking for the time, yeah.
It was, yeah.
And
But
then now you watch fellow
hide.
travelers and people are just having sex everywhere.
Oh, yeah, no. Nowadays, it's perfectly normal to see
Yeah.
anything on the show. Like it's just any TV show is just.
Which is great. It's a great thing. It's a
I
really
do
good
too.
thing.
I think for well, in the U.S. it's tough because the U.S. we still get very prudish in the U.S.
Mm.
We have that whole puritanical background that we have still going on since we fled the UK many hundreds of years ago
Yeah.
and created this country. The Puritans still exist here, but it's in places like New York. There's a lot more openness and everything
Mm.
for that, but it's tough. I mean, and that's why on YouTube you can't have nudity on YouTube. So
No.
and part of that's because of things like that. So
Do you still have because when I was in the States for a while, years like 10 years ago now, you had, I think it was called Logo TV,
yep.
and
Um,
here TV as well.
here is now more of a streaming service,
Okay.
and Logo I think still exists. Uh, I haven't. I don't know if it's still. Honestly, I think it does, but I'm not 100% certain. I think after
Mm.
Paul left Logo, I don't think it's really um, as visible anymore because
Right.
now RuPaul's on MTV. Basically, RuPaul is queer TV now. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Logo started to get other shows that were like I know they started to stream I think Roseanne and Golden Girls and things like that to sort of like get more of a mainstream audience because they
Mm.
weren't producing enough original queer content and
No,
not enough people were watching it. So
yeah, they definitely didn't have a lot of scripted stuff. I
yeah,
was obsessed momentarily with a reality show they had though called The A-List.
yes, I remember that vaguely. I did not watch it, but I know I remember advertising everything. So
Yeah, they had one that was set in Dallas, which was just fantastic. I loved that. Um, but yeah, I don't know what made me think of that. I remember at the time being in because I was in LA at the time, and I remember thinking how great it was that there was a network that was kind of
oh,
geared
sure.
towards.
I was so excited when I saw that they had
Yeah,
the Logo TV and here had some ridiculously wonderful campy horror queer series.
right.
I don't know if you ever saw Dante's Cove.
Mm.
Uh,
Yes,
but it
that
was
we got that over here, but on
ridiculous.
Amazon.
Oh, you have it on Amazon. Okay.
Yeah,
That and The Lair, which was the spin-off of Dante's Cove,
yeah,
with vampires and witches. Like this is amazing. This is ridiculous and so campy. I love to hate this, but it's also really great. So,
yeah.
um,
Really fun to watch.
but you're right. There weren't a lot of scripted stuff. I
Mm.
know Logo had a show called Noah's Ark, which was basically um, the people who produced it were comparing it to the queerest folk for people of color. Uh,
Okay.
and I know it was really popular for a couple seasons.
Mm.
And then the last thing I know about Logo for sure that they did a push for Russell T Davies' newer series, which was Banana, I think.
Yeah, there was like cucumber and banana.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
had. I know that was on Logo TV in the
Oh,
U.S.
cool.
When that happened, but uh, but that's about it. I haven't really seen.
Yeah.
I also don't have cable anymore, so
Okay.
so that could be part of it. But I
Yeah.
know here is a streaming service. We also have Reverie as a streaming service. I don't know if you know Reverie.
No, I haven't heard of that.
Reverie started out as the queer Netflix, basically. So,
Okay.
um,
Ah,
and they have a lot of stuff on there. So,
nice. Great.
but there's a lot of really wonderful options out there for queer people to watch things that are for queer people, which is something that we didn't have growing up. So,
No, exactly. Yeah.
uh,
Um,
yeah,
and good quality stuff as well.
yes. I mean, what's the first queer character you remember seeing on television?
Oh,
Take you back.
probably probably would have been. We have a soap over here called EastEnders.
Yep.
Do you know it? Yeah.
Oh,
Um,
I watch a lot of Doctor Who, so EastEnders comes up a lot. So
okay. There was like there was a gay kiss basically in EastEnders, and I remember um, I pretended to my mum and dad that I needed to record something
oh,
in the show because I knew it was going to be the hook of the episode. So I was like, "Oh, I want to record whatever was coming on next," and then I was like, "Oh, I'll just press record from now," and it was just so that I could record the end so that I could rewatch the kiss because
oh,
I was too embarrassed to watch it in front of them. So
I love that though. That's so
it's like
that's
my
so
little
clever of
trick.
you. So.
That was probably the first. What about you?
The first the f- I pretty much think the first one I remember was Ellen coming out. Uh,
Oh yeah, yeah, the sitcom.
that was because that was everywhere in the U.S. I don't know how it was UK for that, but
We didn't. We got Ellen on cable, which very few of us had at the time. Um, it was yeah, well, Sky TV really it
yeah.
was, which we didn't really. Not a lot of people had it because it was on a weird channel on Sky, I think.
But the first thing that was sort of like your EastEnders kiss was for me was did you see Dawson's Creek ever?
Yes,
So when Jack came out, that was like, oh my god, this is
yeah,
amazing. And then he had his
and then
first
he bagged
kiss.
himself a hot cop.
Yeah, that was wonderful.
That
But
was
that was
sweet.
that
Yeah,
was it for sure. I mean, obviously there were sitcoms where like you had a queer character like pop up and everything like that. Like I
yeah,
remember, I remember that there was a queer character on Golden Girls. Blanche's brother was gay, uh,
yeah,
and but that didn't. I was really young at that time, so it didn't really like. Plus, you didn't. The show had it, and it was very very progressive to have it, but they didn't
yeah.
really like. He wasn't queer as in like acting out on anything or like that.
No,
So it was just he was I'm gay, Blanche, and that's
yeah. Then we were talking. I was talking to friends about this recently. That we were laughing because Golden Girls had a gay houseboy in the first
yep.
season called
Coco.
Coco, and then he just disappeared.
It was
They
only
never
in
had
one
him
episode. He was in the pilot.
in the pilot, yeah, in season one, and then just completely disappeared. They had a dog, I think, as well at some
The
point.
reason that the reason that he disappeared is because Sophia did so well with the audience.
Ah, right,
Uh,
okay,
Sophia wasn't supposed to be a main character either. She was just supposed to be a guest star. But because the audience responded so well to Sophia, and they didn't need two sassy people, they just needed one.
yeah,
So they went with the mother as opposed to the gay houseboy.
that
So
makes sense. Yeah, it's probably was probably a lot more palatable at the time as well.
yeah, more likely. But I mean, kudos to them for even having that. I think that was great.
Oh,
So
and that show dealt with so many topics that you know, and they did it in such a funny way. Like when, um, is it Rose's friend comes and they don't realize she's a lesbian, and
oh, Dorothy's friend. Yeah,
Dorothy's friend, and then Blanche is jealous because
yeah.
she fancies Rose and not her. And I mean, it was just like
Which
the writing was just so great.
it was great. And then their because everyone in the '80s did an HIV episode, but
Yeah,
their HIV episode was about Rose having HIV, which was amazing because it wasn't about queer people. It
yeah,
was showing that HIV could. This is one of those instances where I think it's good that it wasn't just about queer people
yeah.
because HIV really is something that affects everybody.
Mm,
But it was so easy to just say it was the gay disease,
yeah,
and which I know why they did that, but there's a whole
yeah.
history about all of that. I know that, but I think for them to show a character like Rose, who's just an older woman, an older white woman who is normal, quote unquote,
Hmm.
uh, at risk of HIV, that was groundbreaking in many ways,
Yeah, absolutely. And it needed to be
especially at that
said at
time
the time.
period.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Yeah.
but so many wonderful things. I didn't realize we were so close in age, though. That's
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah. No.
I thought you were much younger than I am, so I'm very happy.
Oh, stop. Not at all.
So as far as your music goes, do you tour at all, or are you primarily just releasing it online?
Just doing online at the moment. As I say, it was quite a daunting thing me getting back into it, but the reaction has been very positive. So I have a bunch of music coming out over the next few months, and then the idea is to put together a live show um, with all the kind of new music over the, because I didn't really want to go out and do a set that included covers and things like that. So
Yeah.
I wanted to build a show around the original music. So um, hopefully, if I can get a show together with a band later on this year, do a couple of gigs locally, and then I'd love to go out on tour. I mean, it's my it's my joy is to be on stage and just singing songs and stuff. So
Well, you have to come to New York then and do a tour here.
I
So
would love to. Listen, I will be emailing Club Coming
yes,
every
yes,
weekend to try and get over there.
do that.
No, that's just like a dream for me, to be honest. And I think what I need to do first of all is just really try to hone the craft of sort of getting the like the Spotify listeners
Sure,
numbers
yeah.
up and stuff like that, because there's a real skill to it, I think, in terms of like how to promote your music, because it really is all promotion now, like with TikTok and Instagram. You'll know as well from doing that with your movies and
It's
stuff. It's
exhausting.
just
It's so
people
exhausting.
have to people have to know it's out, but also it's the right people have to know it's out.
Yeah.
So it's all about targeted ads and all that kind of stuff, which as an independent artist, I'm doing all that myself. So I'm figuring it all out, but I will get there. I'll get to New York at some point.
I'm hoping so.
Yeah.
Do you so I didn't realize it was so you released Too Old to Dance when? When did it come out?
So that was towards the end of 2023.
Oh, so that's okay. So it was really fresh then when
Yeah, it was
what we
really.
first got it. Yeah.
I think it had just come out when we had kind of messaged. I don't even think it was out when I sent you the demo.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay.
Yeah, and it
Uh,
was always going to be the first one. It was always going to be the thing that set the ball rolling.
and
Yeah.
I know I've only listened to your stuff through Spotify, I think. So, do you have music videos for anything that you do, or?
I haven't really done any music videos this time because they're sort of a drain on cash, really, and they're not really. I mean, what I would love to do, because my day job is in TV.
Oh,
Um,
really?
yeah, so I'm a script editor for a BBC drama
Oh, okay.
up here in Scotland. Um, what I would love to do is to take one of the songs and make a short film
Oh,
um,
yeah, of course.
based around the song. Um, so that's something that I would like to do. The difficult thing with music videos themselves at the moment is they don't really, there's no comeback from them. Everything is TikTok and short form and
Yeah.
90 seconds and, maximum and stuff like that. So music videos cost a lot for not a lot back, if you know what I mean.
Oh, I totally
Yeah.
understand that. Short films can be similar. So it's hard to justify the expenses of short films if you're doing them
Yeah.
too expensively. So
And they're great. They're great to do because obviously a lot of times when I'm writing songs, I imagine the video in my
yeah,
head. Um, and it would be nice to be able to bring that sort of creative vision to life. But again, it's just prioritizing,
of course.
yeah, what to do.
Because there's no venue, there's no place for them anymore, really.
There's no
Like,
TRL, there's no
MTV doesn't
MTV.
exist anymore that
Yeah,
way. Like, and
I
I
know.
mean, a lot of people put them on YouTube, and people hopefully discover them from there. But it's not the same, basically.
No, and I would rather use the sort of money and stuff to put it towards a live show and then just record that and put it
Yeah,
on YouTube.
that or even record it as a concert and put it on like Amazon Prime or something like that.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't. I'm assuming. Yeah, you should be able to do that in the UK too. I think. I know
yeah.
that.
Oh, yeah,
I
definitely.
know in the US you can directly add stuff to the Amazon Prime and all. So, but
Mm. But short film, I definitely would love to sort of do something around one of the songs at
I
some
mean,
point.
I could totally picture a short film for Too Old to Dance. I mean,
Yeah,
I've already started writing it in my head when you mentioned that. So I'm like, I
Yeah.
can picture that very easily. So
Well, if you have any ideas, let me know.
I'll be more than happy to. So no, that's for sure. I know that it would be really exciting to see you live though, because I think that the you have a lot of passion in the songs that I've heard of you from you, and
Mm,
I can only imagine seeing that performed live then. So
yeah, I'd love to, and just creating like a place, like a show for queer people as well, in terms of a
yeah,
safe space for people to come and just for people to just enjoy the music, enjoy themselves, be free, be whoever they want to be, just for that hour and a half while they're at the show is just
yeah.
that's what I would have loved to have had when I was younger. So, or even just now, I love it when I go to like a bright light gig or Erasure. I mean, do you know Erasure?
I
Band?
know Erasure. Yeah, I've never been to anything with them, but I know them. Yeah.
Probably the most amazing live act I've ever seen, and
Really? Okay.
their gigs are just so like it's just the best experience, like in terms of people just enjoying the music, getting lost in the music, and just feeling free to just go for it and dance and be however they want to be. So if they ever do come to New York and you see them, you should definitely check Erasure out. They're
I'll
so
have to
great
do that.
live.
Yeah. I keep trying to get to a Bright Light show too because he performs once in a while in New York. So, but I haven't had. It's always when I'm doing something. It's always because I'm always filming or something. So it's like
Yeah, there's always
wow,
something going on. I know, and there's just there's too many things at the moment, isn't there,
there
to
are a lot of things. I
see.
mean, in 18 days I'm filming my next movie. So that's So
That's so exciting. Are
I
you feeling ready for it, or?
uh I feel oddly enough the most prepared I've ever felt for a movie at this point, which is really a good feeling to have.
That's a good place to be. Yeah, definitely.
I just I'm really excited by the team that I have, and I really feel like we're going into this really prepared, which is good because we're going to be on location for 9 days, and it's a lot of
Oh,
it's a lot for what we're doing, but I'm pretty psyched for it. So
that's exciting. Yeah. How long is the full shoot? Do you know?
it will be 9 days.
9 days. So
So we're
it's all a location shoot.
it's all, yeah. I would with this project. I wanted to try something different, which was a very focused story on a focused one location kind of thing. So
Amazing.
we're doing we're doing it's not a cabin in the woods movie, but that's what we're sort of that's the story is
Yeah.
where we go to a remote estate and that's where we're at. So
Cool.
it's been described to me with people who've read it as Dracula meets Child's Play, but then nothing at all like that when they actually see the whole movie. But
Yeah.
but that's the feel that they get for it. So which is cool.
That's great,
I work with
and
that.
I love the fact that you do these fat positive movies as well. I think it's really it's great, like to be just doing something that's so authentically what you're passionate about, and yeah, I think it's great.
It's really important for me because the queer media that I have seen doesn't depict people who look like me and my friends and the people
Yeah,
who are in my circles, and because of that, um, it never feels authentically for us.
yeah,
Like queer as folk obviously was very important for me, but they didn't cast anyone that looks like me in that show. So
no,
ever maybe one character in the background for one
yeah,
episode, but it wasn't like that for us. And then I mean, you get other shows like Will and Grace or anything or Jack on Dawson's Creek. Like nobody looked like
yeah,
nobody was not thin basically.
yeah,
So it was important for me to do something different with the work that I'm doing, which is highlighting voices that I think are marginalized as well, which is fat characters and queer characters. So because
yeah,
it can be very hard in the queer community to not look like a twink basically. So
yeah. And listen, that's exactly why I started with music again, and that's exactly what Too Old to Dance was. Like, who's writing songs about older, like gay people? Basically, you don't die at 27.
yeah,
When you stop being a twink who's going out and getting wasted, because that to me, that's what all the songs are about. When
that's
you're
all
young,
the songs are like that.
yeah, let's go out, let's get wasted, and then you're like, okay, but I'm actually a little bit older than that, and my life is still going on. So who's telling those stories?
Yep.
So
I think it's so important. I mean, to
it's
do
just a
that.
different version of the story, but it's moving the story on and turning the page and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I really I tip my hat to you, sir.
And I to you, because I love what you're doing. So, and I can't believe that we are basically out of time.
Oh wow.
That went by so quickly. I had
Yeah.
such a good time talking to you.
Yeah, same. Thank you so much again for having me on.
Of course. So why don't you tell everybody where they can find you online so they can hear all of your amazing songs and all the songs
Yeah,
you have to
sure.
come?
Thank you. Yeah, so I search for Adair Murray on Spotify, Apple Music. I'm Adair.Murray on Instagram. Um, Adair_music on TikTok. I have a new single coming out in March, which is called As If, which is a kind of homage also to the 90s because it's a homage to Clueless, the movie.
I was going to say that sounds like it's a Clueless song. So
Yeah, yeah. So we're both doing homages to the 90s basically, and both showing our age, so that's
that's it.
fine.
So that's what A Taste of Youth was all about, was showing our age. So
Exactly. But yeah, come and say hi on any of those platforms and have a listen.
awesome. That's really, really exciting. I can't wait to hear more songs, and I can't wait to have you in New York doing a show. So.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
if
I'll let you
if you
know.
know anybody in Glasgow who wants to host a screening of A Taste of Youth, let me know, and I will see if I can come out and do that. Because
Oh my God, yeah, that would be so good. We've
I
got
would
some really cute independent cinemas here that I'm sure would like film festivals and things. I'll let you know.
let me know, because I'm trying this year. I'm trying to do a little bit more touring with the movies, and
Hmm.
because that's something I have found is successful for other people, and is to go out to the communities and bring the movies to them, and
Yeah,
that's what I'm trying to do this year a little bit. So. So if you know anybody in Glasgow who wants to host a horror movie night, then let me know. So
absolutely. And I'm so excited to see A Taste of Youth as well.
I know I can't wait for you to see it so you can actually hear your song in it. So
I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah.
well, Adair, thank you so much for being here tonight, and
Thank
everybody,
you.
thank you for joining us. I really am so grateful. It was a very it's been a very hectic time in the US, so I'm so glad to be able to share the things I love with amazing people like you, Adair, and all the audience members as well, because this is what makes it all worthwhile, making queer art and sharing it. So uh, don't forget, in 18 days, we are filming The Contract. So if you want to help us make our movie, go to thecontractfilm.com. You can become a producer or get a copy of the script or anything you want with the perks that we have on there. But go to thecontractfilm.com. And in the meantime, also check out Adair on Spotify, or just reach out on Instagram if you can't find him on Spotify, and he will redirect you, I'm sure. So,
Yeah, come and say hi.
all right. Have a good night, everybody. Thank you so much.
Have a great show as well.
Thank you.
Bye.
And that's the tea.